Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dragon Ball Z The Breakers. More specifically, or it's just called Dragon Ball The Breakers, my apologies. But more specifically, my Dragon Ball Z manga retrospective. Today we're going to be covering the contents of Volume 5. This is one of the bigger ones so far, actually. And it's for good reason, because there's a lot to cover here. So, when we first start, we are at the very end of the Vegeta fight. This is where Goku lets Vegeta get away, pretty much, because he wants to fight him back. He wants to fight him again, I think is his argument. And so Vegeta fucks off to we don't know where. But everybody shows up. Roshi shows up in one of Bulma's spaceships. Bulma's there. Chi-Chi's there. Obviously, Chi-Chi is freaking the fuck out because Goku's almost dead, and admittedly, Gohan isn't in great health either. So she is stressed the fuck out about that, for good reason, you know? I mean, that's a fair reason to be upset. And they start talking about how everyone else is dead. Like, Piccolo and all of the others are gone, and that freaks everybody the fuck out. And they also mention, of course, how Piccolo's dead, so they can't bring anybody back anymore, because the Dragon Balls have turned to stone, because that would mean Kami is also dead. But then someone brings it up, I think it's Korin that mentions it, that there might be another set of Dragon Balls on the planet Namek, which is the planet that Kami and Piccolo are from. We actually get a very good backstory sequence here in a bit about why they're Namekians and how they got to Earth and how they became the Defenders of Earth. Or how Kami became the Guardian of Earth, rather. So they take Goku to the hospital, and they all agree to go to Namek. But obviously Goku's in the hospital, so he can't come. So they bring Goku to the hospital, and then they realize, fuck, how are we gonna get into space? How are we gonna do that? And then Popo shows up. Mr. Popo. He's essentially Kami's right-hand man. He's his assistant, I think is how they put it. But yeah, he shows up. Or it might be King Kai that brings up that there are more Dragon Balls, actually. But either way, Mr. Popo shows up, and he's like, you know, Bulma, I need you to come with me because you're a science lady. I need you to come see something. And he's like on his magic carpet, and it leads to this whole sequence where Bulma's untrustworthy of him and freaking the fuck out about being on a magic carpet. But he brings her out to these frozen mountains. This is an area we only see like 2 or 3 times throughout the entire franchise. But there's this weird looking spaceship in there. And he's like, yeah, Kami showed up on this forever ago when he was a child, when he was a baby.
We'll see about that.
Oh, hi, Sal. And he assumes that he came from planet Namek. Of course, Popo doesn't actually know a good majority of this. He only knows what Kami told him, and Kami doesn't even remember a lot of it very well. And he mentions that it is voice activated, and he says the word Piccolo, and there's a little circle that comes out of the bottom of it for them to stand on, and then he says it again to make it close. And then he goes on to explain how it's still working, like it's a perfectly functioning spaceship. He also mentions how Piccolo is the Namekian word for from another world, I think. Or it might just be another world, I can't remember. But that would mean that Piccolo, Demon King Piccolo, means Demon King from another world. I just think that's really neat. This is one of my favorite story building and lore building points in the entire franchise. They explain it, I think, in Dragon Ball. I've started watching Dragon Ball. I need to finish it. I'm planning on covering it on this channel at some point, because I want to talk about it, because it's fucking weird. But I believe at some point in Dragon Ball, they explain how at one point, Piccolo and Kami were the same guy, but to become the Guardian of Earth, Kami had to purge all of the evil from his body, and to do that, they had to create Demon King Piccolo as a separate entity outside of his body, and then they contain Demon King Piccolo, and then all of that shit happens in Dragon Ball that I've already explained. But, anyway, we will learn later on in the Namek arc why it is that Kami had to leave his home. But it'll be briefly explained by a certain character. But anyway, she goes and she gathers everybody up. Of course, she has to convince Chi-Chi to let Gohan go. Well, she doesn't have to convince Chi-Chi to let Gohan go. Gohan has to convince Chi-Chi to let Gohan go. And reluctantly she says yes, but only because it's for the sake of bringing everybody else back to life. She also, like, makes him wear school clothes. She puts him in this, like, really shitty-looking formal getup. But, anyway. So, they all head out, and, of course, they can't bring Goku with them, because Goku has had his ribs and, like, spine broken. Like, all his legs and his ribs are broken. He's, like, there's a panel of him where he's in, like, complete bandages, aside from his face. So they head on over to Namek. But this is not the only thing that's happening at this point in time. There is, we cut back, or we cut to, I believe it's Planet Frieza number 79, or some fucking shit like that. And once we get to Planet Frieza 79, we cut to Vegeta. And Vegeta is in his... He's in... If you've ever watched Star Wars, it's pretty much the equivalent of, like, a Bacta tank. It's just this pod that heals him. So he gets out... we watch him get out of the pod, and he gets, like, harassed by a couple of his coworkers because they don't like him. They fucking hate him because he's a Saiyan. So I guess that would imply that they didn't really like Nappa either, and that's why they sent them off so frequently. That's why we never see them on one of the Frieza planets prior to this. Even when we first see them at the midpoint of the Saiyan arc, after the Raditz fight, they're on another planet killing people. I think Vegeta is, like, holding the leg of some bug thing that they had just killed. He's eating it. He's fucking eating it. But yeah, they're not on one of, like, the Frieza-sanctioned planets. But we do get to see Vegeta sharing his criticisms about Frieza, of which he has very, very many. And Vegeta has also caught wind that there are Dragon Balls on planet Namek. Somehow, I can't remember how. I think... Yeah, I'm fairly certain he goes to Namek at this point. I want to say he goes to Namek at some point. I can't remember the exact order of events, but I'm fairly certain that after this, we cut back to the others, and they're on Namek now. Like, they get to Namek pretty easily, all things considered. But this is, of course, at the point where they find out that they are not the only people looking for Dragon Balls here, and that, in fact, there are already people looking for Dragon Balls here. Wait. I can't remember when it is that we get introduced to Frieza. Because the first time we get introduced to Frieza, we've, like, heard about him for a decent bit of time now. But now we're, like, seeing him, you know? I can't remember what the context of us first seeing him is. But when we do first see him, he is standing next to this spiky-looking fucking short, stout motherfucker, even though she's actually still decently tall. Her name is Dodoria. She's supposed to look like a durian. That's the bit. Go, 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 bitch. Oh, fuck. That still fucking used it, too. Of course it did. Hey, shit. Anyway, her name is Dodoria. And then standing to Frieza's right is the other character, Zarbon. He's super tall. He's wearing, like, thigh highs and pink sleeves. These sleeves, which are not attached to his shirt, by the way. Oh, yes, that's right. The second that they land on Namek, they see Vegeta's pod. And that's how we, as the audience, also find out that Vegeta's on Namek. That's right. Yes, and they find Vegeta, or Frieza, Zarbon, and Dodoria, like, massacring a village of Namekians. And, and this is how we know that Frieza's looking for the Dragon Balls, is because Zarbon is depicted in one of the only ways that he's ever standing, which is, with one Dragon Ball tucked under each arm. That's another thing about the Namekian Dragon Balls, is that they're a little bit different, for a few reasons, one of which we will find out later. But the one that we know right now is that they're fucking huge. They're really big, for, like, no reason. There's not really any reason ever given why the Namekian Dragon Balls are so big, aside from, I guess, because the Namekians are responsible for making the Dragon Balls. So that's why theirs are bigger? It's all very loose logic that I don't really understand. But anyway. From this point, we see Frieza killing the shit out of, like, a lot of people. Frieza is pretty much indiscriminately slaughtering every single Namekian here, because the Namekians, he understands, are in charge of the Dragon Balls. Which he's not wrong about, you know? I mean, they are. So, it's kind of implied that each of the elders in a village on Namek are responsible for their own individual Dragon Ball. Oh shit, that was good. So they kill this guy. I think Dodoria specifically is the one who kills him in this instance. Oh my god. Nice. So this is when we get introduced to the main villain of this arc, who is Frieza. I think I mentioned that last time, that Frieza is the main villain here. But they touch down, find out Vegeta's here, and then Vegeta is confronted by a member of the Frieza Force named Kiwi, whose name is Kui in the anime. But he meets Kiwi, and then Kiwi is like, hey, Vegeta, fuck you, because him and Kui hate each other, I guess, for some reason. I don't really know why. I guess they're just meant to be rivals. But Kiwi is supposed to be the same power level as Vegeta. He talks to Vegeta like they're equals. That said, they interact for about 30 seconds, and then Vegeta fucking obliterates him. He kills the shit out of this guy. Because this is when we get further introduced to the idea that, or just introduced at all, I think. Yeah, this is the first time it's ever mentioned, now that I think about it. That when a Saiyan almost dies, and comes back from the brink of death, they receive an extreme boost in power. This is called Zenkai. But yeah, then Gohan and Krillin start beating up the members of the Frieza Force that confront them because they get found by a couple of them. But Vegeta's power rising picks up on Dodoria's scouter, and it breaks. Like, it gets so high that it fucking breaks. Which will bring into question a rule about scouters later on. Because if you remember, Raditz's scouter broke when Bulma tried to fix it earlier. Did I mention that? I don't know if I even brought that up. I don't know if I brought up that Bulma repairs his scouter. I don't remember. It's unimportant. I can't even remember why she does it. But yeah, Vegeta punches Kui once and he fucking explodes. And then Vegeta, having caught wind of the Dragon Balls on Namek, starts attempting to gather them for himself. And this is the point where I'm stopping this because we're almost done, oddly enough. Not much actually happens in this one. But Goku catches wind that people are in trouble, that shit's going down, and Roshi brings him a sensu bean. Sensu beans are these fucking weird little beans that literally completely heal you no matter how injured you are. They just exist. Korin just grows them under his, I think Korin's a guy, under his tree. And it completely heals Goku. He's fucking completely fine after that. And then he goes to Bulma's dad, Dr. Briefs. And he's just like, hey, bring me to space. And Dr. Briefs fucking just so happens to have a spare spaceship on hand, but he doesn't want Goku to take it because he's not done installing the cappuccino machine in it. Yeah. But, it is at this point that, Goku goes to space. And he starts training just the entire time. Like, he uses the entire time to train. It's pretty fucking crazy. But we'll get to that later. Then we cut back to Frieza, Zarbon, and Dodoria fucking beating the shit out of some innocent Namekians and stealing more Dragon Balls. And to my understanding, that's kind of where we leave off for this chapter. For this volume, I mean. Yeah, Krillin and Gohan kind of watch this happen. Because obviously they don't want to be seen, because they know that these guys are super fucking powerful. Oh, is this the one that has... There's at one point in the manga where... No, it's not yet. I don't want to bring it up because it doesn't happen yet. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Not much really happens in this. It's a very big introductory volume because we're getting to a lot more characters that we don't know yet. At the beginning, during the Saiyan Saga, we only got introduced to 3 new characters that we didn't know yet. Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa. Because, I mean, Dragon Ball Z in the manga is just a continuation of Dragon Ball. I mean, on each of these volumes, yeah, there's a 21 on here. Because the original Dragon Ball was, hold on. Yeah. The original Dragon Ball was, I think, 16 volumes. So, 16 plus 5, 21. It's volume 21 of Dragon Ball. So it's weird that it's divided up like that, you know? I mean, the way that it was initially written was, Goku won the Budokai Tenkaichi tournament in Dragon Ball after beating Ma Jr., Piccolo, And then the very next week, Raditz showed up in the publication. It was fucking crazy. But yeah, we've already been introduced to like 4 or 5 new characters already. Goku also meets Bulma's mom, and she's really uninteresting. She has nothing to do, and she's just generally an unimportant character. But anyway, that'll be all for this one. If you did enjoy, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.